Hello, my name is Jake Reichbart, and today I'd like to invite you to a series of short guitar lessons on a wide range of topics that can help you improve your playing right away. Oftentimes these topics, to keep the videos short, the topics will come in parts 1, 2, 3, etc. Make sure to check the title, and if you are not on part number 1, find part number 1 and then view them in succession. Oftentimes there will also be a PDF available to accompany these lessons. Check the information below. And finally, if you do enjoy these free lessons, make sure to email me, jake.reichbart@gmail.com, to learn about my full-length video lessons that are available to purchase from me about mostly my solo guitar arrangements that you can see here on YouTube. I got a huge channel with many hundreds of great videos for you to enjoy. If you're not familiar with those, check those out. And here we go. Welcome to part 2 of the lesson on how to invert any voicing on the guitar. And I want to pick up just where we left off the last lesson, which concluded that we have only been inverting closed voicings of C major. And I want to just show you that this principle works also for open voicings. And after I do that, I want to move into 4-note voicings. So here's a C major in a closed voicing. C, E, and G, because the notes are as close to each other as possible, and there's no space in between any two chord notes to squeeze in another chord note. Look at this voicing now. C, G, and E. It is open because you have two openings here. Between this C and G, there's an E that could be played, but we are not. And between this G and this E, there is a C note that we could be playing, but we are not. That is what makes this an open voicing. Now, the principle to invert this is identical to what we have been doing so far. So you have your list of notes written out, as we explained in part 1. If you have not seen part 1, make sure to check it out. And for each chord note, we are going to ask, what is the next chord note from my list that I can play on that string? So C goes to E. The G goes to C, E goes to G together. We get this lovely voicing. The characteristic of the voicing remains the same. It's still an open voicing, similar to the voicing that we just inverted. Move this up once more along the same exact principle, and you get this voicing. Now we have G, E, and C on top, all in parallel on the same strings. And you should check out the PDF below for the exact fingerings. Moving down this path and adding a note, still in C, I want to invert what is maybe familiar to many of you, a drop 2 voicing, and we'll talk about drop chords in a whole other lesson. But this is a shape that is probably familiar to many of you. It is an open voicing because, again, we have notes that we have spaces where we can play chord notes that we are not playing a note. That is to say, between this C and G, there's an E note that we are not playing. That's what makes it open. And why is it called drop 2? Never mind. Now we'll again deal with that in a different lesson, but let's invert it. But now what's different between this and the previous chord is that our list is different. Remember, I said we are listing out the notes in an ascending order in a closed voicing manner. That is to say that now my list of notes is going to be, that I'm writing out on a piece of paper, is going to be C, E, G, and B, not the order that appears in this specific voicing. This specific voicing is C, G, B, and E. So that's not what we are writing out. We are writing out C, E, G, and B. So once again, we are going to do the exact same process. We're going to ask, what is the next chord note on this string that I can play, the notes being on the list that I wrote out. So C goes to E, G goes to B, B to C, and E to G. Put together, we have this voicing. And just to throw it in there, remember we said we can invert horizontally and vertically too. This exact voicing is going to appear now here on the upper 4 strings and you can check those out later or work that out later for yourself. It's the exact same notes. Similarly, we are going to move now up another inversion. Each note is going to move up to the next chord note you can play on that string, and we will come up with this voicing: G, C, E, and B. And now, because we have 4 notes in this chord, we're going to have yet another inversion, which is going to look like this. When each note moves up to the next chord note on that string, we'll come up with this voicing: B, E, G, and C. Interestingly, this voice is playable down here as well. So next time you're playing C major 7, you're thinking, what's the lowest C major 7 I can play in this type of a chord? It's not this one, it's actually this one. And this concludes part 2. Please make sure to join me for part 3 on how to invert any voicing on the guitar.